PeopleSERVE is a private, woman-owned technology staffing firm founded by Linda in 1999. They specialize in providing contract technology services, mainly to the public sector, which is about 85% of their business revenue. This is all under the umbrella of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and many of these agencies are, for example, Department of Health and Human Resources, Public Health, Department of Transportation, etc. One of the things that the company is very proud of is they have very strong values in the area of service, honesty, integrity, business ethics, and establishing long-term relationship with their client base, which they've been very successful in since 90% of their business revenues is repeat business. As she's looking at the opportunities, where before she was doing more customer bonding, providing full customer solutions, they're now much more competitive environment, heavy on pricing, and placing less value on the full complement of services that they allowed them to be successful to this point. Compounding that is the fact that you have heavy concentration in basically one customer, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There obviously is risk to maintaining that business as it becomes more competitive and maybe losing some of the long-term contracts. They have looked at this challenge to say, in order for us to be more effective, we have to be able to diversify into the private sector, which only represents about 15%. So the specific challenge is how to diversify the business into the private sector to minimize the risk of the heavy concentration into the public sector while maintaining the base business revenue stream. What Linda's looking at this point is to get the advisory board suggestions and recommendations on the strategy options and the direction she would like to take the company.
You feel that your business model is transferable to the private sector. What market research have you done and identified in terms of, if you move in that direction, which I think you have to, what is that market opportunity and where is it?
We do some private sector business right now. We've done some work in some healthcare, we've done some universities, we've done some nonprofit. There's a need for our services. We also know there's a lot of competition where we are as well. So the question for me and my team is, okay, we've spent so much time in the public sector, and it's what supports our business right now. How do we best utilize our time? We're a small business, a small workforce. How do we take what we know and go out into the private sector full force, still supporting our current business, because that's gonna kind of hold us right now? And where do we spend our energies? Do we look at a specific technology niche, or is it looking at the functional, as Bob was mentioning, in types of positions, project management, business analysis? We do a lot of that right now with our current client base within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and that's also very transferable to private sector business.
Right, I would look at the private sector has a different rhythm than the public sector. And they also set expectations differently, and they budget differently, and all of those things, they have a different culture. Those things can impact the transferability of your business model and the expectations that you might face as you move into that. So I would look at, from a cultural standpoint, where in the private sector are you most likely to succeed without having to completely change who you are. Trying to change who you are and acquire new markets doubles the effort, and you don't always know if you're doing it right. Whereas if you can transfer, you know who you are and what you're capable of. I would say, as you do your market research, whether it's functional or technology or whichever, to see at what are you willing to extend yourself further than you are right now. If you put too many new things in the basket, it's hard to measure and even know what it is you need to do to be successful. And I think with the future, both of budget cuts from the public sector and competition increasing in the private sector, you don't have a lot of wiggle room to experiment and make mistakes.
Right.
So my strongest advice is to do your homework, minimize your risk in terms of determining what direction that you do go in.